It was 2:43 a.m. I was awoken by the sound of my baby's breathing monitor. My wife and I had just got our first camera to watch our baby during the night. We set it up the day before, and I have to say it has been a blessing and a half to be able to check on him without having to get up. Our little one was born prematurely, and we were overcautious with him. Anything he did, we monitored. Anything he ate, we tracked. And when it came to sleeping, well, that was a whole other story. For the first couple months, both my wife and I took turns sleeping in shifts next to his crib. That way, someone was always awake to watch him. But man, it was exhausting. When you have a breathing monitor, you can usually hear when your baby needs something, but it wasn't the same. Sometimes I would hear him, and then I wouldn't know what to do or where to go. And so, it was 2:43 a.m. I reached over and turned on the baby monitor. As I watched the live feed, I saw my son sleeping peacefully. The breathing monitor was beeping at a steady rate, meaning he was fine. Then I noticed a shadow in the corner of the room. I could make out a dark figure standing next to the crib. It was leaning in towards my sleeping baby. I instantly panicked. I don't want to come off as dramatic or anything, but it genuinely looked like a human shadow. And I mean that. It almost looked like there was a tall, thin person standing at the foot of the crib. It appeared to be watching the baby, but it wasn't doing anything. It just stood there for a few seconds. Then it disappeared. I told my wife, "Babe, you gotta come see this." She rubbed her eyes and looked at the screen. "Oh wow, that is strange," she said. We sat there watching for another 10 minutes, but nothing else happened. So we went back to sleep. The next morning after, of course, not sleeping at all, I told my wife that I was going to reset the camera. You see, we had an extra one in the box, so we decided to set that up in our room and point it towards the crib. That way, we could watch our baby from our bed. Well, now I'm glad I did. As the days went on, we didn't see the shadow again. But sometimes when we were watching, we would notice that the blanket covering the baby would move slightly. We chalked it up to drafts and just turned the AC down a few degrees. But there was definitely something in that room, with us. One night, 2:43 a.m., the exact same time as before, the breathing monitor started going off. I turned the camera on and saw that the blanket was moving again. This time, it was getting yanked off the crib. My wife and I started screaming as we watched the shadow move closer and closer to the edge of the bed. It lifted the blanket completely off the crib and threw it to the ground. At this point, I grabbed the baby and held him close. Was it a monster? Was it a demon? Was it some kind of experiment gone wrong? All these thoughts ran through my head as I watched the thing walk past the camera. It's weird because there was no sound in the room. We couldn't hear anything except for the breathing monitor and the faint hum from the camera. Then it happened again, and again, and again. Every night at 2:43 a.m., the shadow would come back and take the blanket off the crib. It seemed to enjoy it too. It would flail the blanket around and make funny faces, like it was having a grand old time. My wife and I were terrified. We ended up taking turns watching the camera all night so that one of us could get some sleep, but the shadow never came back when I was watching. It was like it knew I was there. It was almost as if it was trying to scare me away. We ended up moving our baby into our room. And yes, the shadow followed us. That's right, it followed us to our bedroom. The thing was relentless. We tried everything. We put up holy water, salt, even garlic. But it didn't stop the shadow. Then we decided to get rid of the camera. Maybe it was a fluke. Maybe it was just a camera thing. But whatever it was, it followed us to our new house. Now, my son is a little older, and thankfully we don't have to watch him 24/7 anymore. But every night when I tuck him in, I still turn on the camera and check on him. Every night I wait for the shadow to appear, but it never does.